you were talking about you play emotional algebra with
Oh,
these
yeah.
kids.
Mhm.
And do you want to explain that? I think that's something that parents need to understand.
You show that unconditional love and you drop your ego and you make them know that you're there for them. And the combination of the two is what really makes a successful child emotionally, developmentally, and helps them go far and achieve more.
I rebelled against my parents in every way possible. Ran away from home, quit school, did drugs, sold drugs, went to prison. Everything that you could do to disappoint your parents, I was all about it. I want my kids to go, I want to grow up and be like dad. I want to grow up and be like mom. You can do what you want, right? When you're 18, 21, if you want to drink and do drugs, if that's your thing. But let me tell you, you know what it did for me? It's probably not a good path to go down.
Kids match your energy.
I try to be the dad that they don't want to disappoint. All right. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Stewmans. I'm Ryan.
I'm Amy.
All right. Hey, she did it. You never know. This one's unpredictable. So we have 4 kids.
Sure do.
It's a lot.
I'm glad you've counted and kept up with that.
It's like counting cows. You know, it's
easier than counting cows. Counting cows hard.
You know, in prison we did count time 3 times a day. I feel like we really need to instill that at the house. You guys here? I thought Asher was home Sunday and he didn't get home till Monday. I thought he was home. Amanda called me yesterday and she's like, I'm dropping Asher off. And I was like, wait, he wasn't already at the house? He got in her car Friday or Thursday.
Thursday. And it was not the plan for him to go to her.
He doesn't even show up to carpool for Amy. He just gets in his friend's car and just goes like, hey, I'm going with you guys for the
What's
weekend.
hilarious is as I'm going from the first grade carpool line to the from the preschool carpool line to the first grade carpool line, I'm like driving around the school and she calls, she's like, hey, so just when I've got Asher, he just got in my car and I just want to make sure that's okay because that wasn't the plan.
But I imagine
like,
he has his own toothbrush there.
Yeah.
I
need to restock it. He said he didn't anymore. I need to give him another one.
I'm surprised that he doesn't have his own stuff at their house. So
he's literally
because he's there more than Grayson's at our house. Grayson typically rolls with us to the ranch, but then goes home.
Well, there's other kids at our house. They gotta, there's
they get
interference and variables. At their house, it's just they can just chill and hang, and they're the only 2 kids and they can play.
And Asher and Colton, they do not get along. Like they
do, but it's the typical sibling thing. They love each other, but they're like with each other all the time, and they didn't choose that. We chose to live with each other. We love each other. They didn't choose that. They just got to live with that person. They're with them all the time. So they get a little irritated. And I just,
Well, Asher is very quiet and he likes to play his video games and do his thing by himself. He's very independent. Colton is always like, hey guys, what's going on? He's like, got to be in the mix of everything. And then he wants to play the video games too. And Asher's like, it's mine. And Colton's like, well, I live here too. And Colton's this grumpy 70-year-old man trapped in a 7-year-old body. And so, he's just like literally no fucks given and will just say whatever's on his mind.
Oh my gosh. I told you, I don't know if I told you guys that when we were walking down the stairs, I had Harlan, Colton, we were leaving to go do something and Colton was saying something like obnoxious and me and Jennifer were laughing about it. We were walking down the stairs and then Beto's there walking by and Beto starts chuckling too because he heard what we were saying. Colton looks this grown man dead in the eye and goes, you be quiet.
He's a good kid. He's just like a very grumpy kid, He's not trying to hear it.
With the finger and the stern face and all. I'm like, you have gigantic cojones, sir.
So with 4 kids, we have Jackson who's 12 and he's with from previous wife of mine and me, obviously. And then you have Asher who is 11 and he's with the previous boyfriend of yours. And then we have Colton together who is about to be 7 by the time this airs. And we have Harlan who will soon be 3 here in a couple of months. And all of them are a lot more mature and older than their ages.
Yes.
And, Jackson's 12. He's got a girlfriend. Asher's 11. He's like Mr. Responsible. Colton's the curmudgeon-y 70-year-old.
He's responsible when he wants to be responsible.
Asher's very responsible.
Not at school.
And, mom's got a different
He's sweet and polite and very well behaved. But when it comes to school, he's like, I don't know where that assignment went. Is there a book? I don't know.
So we get report card. Y'all got to love this. We get report cards the other day. and Colton's got a bunch of 2s and 3s. We like 3s and 4s. 4 is the highest, 1's the lowest. And Colton's got a couple of 1s or a couple of 2s and a lot of 3s, and I don't think got any 4s. And I ask him, I take him somewhere, and he's in the car with me, and I said, Colton, we gotta get your grades up a little better. Can you tell me what the deal is with school? What's going on with it? And he goes, I'm just tired. And I was like, well, do you need to go to sleep earlier? He goes, no, I'm just tired of school. The dude's in the first fucking grade. I'm like, it's gonna be a long journey,
Hey,
brother. It's
got a
gonna be a long
ways to
journey.
go, buddy. You gotta.
I'm just tired of school.
Oh, bless it.
So,
Yeah.
but Harlan is very needy. And she, towards you, when she's with me, she's Miss Independent. But when she's with you, she needs mama. And Colton's the same thing. When we just came in from vacation from Cabo, second you walked in the house, Colton's right there at your hip, and I kept thinking, why don't you put him to sleep? I didn't realize they had off school yesterday. So we've talked about this in past episodes where we deal with their parents, right? And how we do the co-parenting thing. But one of the comments that I often get, and I'm sure you do too, is that we have great kids. Even the curmudgeon.
I feel bad. We have to go back to calling him the senator because senators can be
We do.
grumpy
We don't
too.
want to label
Senators
them. You're
more
right.
positive.
It is more positive. You're correct. But how do you think we've pulled that off?
So obviously we have a very, very high discipline household, but I read
Who disciplines them?
Both of us.
That's a lie.
I discipline too, but I'm a female. Like I can only like my discipline. Like I yell louder. I say I'm taking away things, and I do, and they just look at me like, "Okay, lady, nice try."
Can I just interrupt you for a minute? Since Amy has come back to work full time, she has turned into the angry parent. And it used to be me because I was running everything, and now Amy's like the angry, short, patient parent because she's got a lot of shit to do. And I was like, "Hey, welcome back, babe. Welcome back."
No, but can I also give a little color to that scenario?
Sure.
So
Color red?
Color. Maybe, sure. That works. So you were, you were the grumpy one.
The old yeller.
You were old yeller. And it just had, was short patience for things. And you're like, hurry up. Okay. So they're instilled that little bit of fear of like, they're going to do what they need to do. Now you are like, what was his name on, Spicoli. You're Spicoli. You're just like, hey, yeah. And you're just chill and whatnot. And so it's tamed down a little bit in our house, but I gotta get things done. I gotta move. I gotta go.
Call me Spicoli. That guy was a fucking idiot stoner. I'm not any of those things anymore.
He wasn't necessarily an idiot, just a stoner. I don't know.
I agree.
Hey, science.
I haven't blown up in a long time.
It's true. And so I still need things to get done. So like I have to like instill the fear now, which I don't know how much it's working, but things are getting done.
How did I quit smoking weed and become more patient? That should be a whole other episode at some point. I don't know.
Your adrenal glands, maybe.
I don't know.
know.
Probably burnt the fuck out. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, when I first had Asher, I read this incredible article about, and I read, I split tested all these articles. I would read Psychology Today all the time about parenting and kids and the best way to raise your parents. Cause he's my only child. And so I'm like always overachiever OCD parent.
I did that too.
Good for you.
With Jackson. Took classes and everything. I took parenting classes, all that stuff.
Good for you. So
by myself. I was married at the time. I took them by myself.
Not surprised. So many articles attributed successful kids and kids that are successful in life and their career and emotionally stable with a high discipline, high love parenting style. So extremely high expectations and very firm, but also like always like balance it with the high focus of unconditional love. So like your standards are high, you let them know, hey, no, leeway. You need to get this done, but also juxtapose that with, don't forget, you show that unconditional love and you drop your ego and you make them know that you're there for them. And the combination of the two is what really makes a successful child emotionally, developmentally, and helps them go far and achieve more.
See, I always tell the boys, like, Dad, am I your favorite? No, you in second place. You better work harder.
You're so mean. That's so messed up.
It works though. They're competing. They're competing for greatness.
Oh, there's just so much undertones of just jealousy between like, who is it? Who's the favorite?
I'm not telling you.
There could only be there's two. They're deciding on
You
which
got a favorite daughter.
Yeah.
Because I only
The
got
reigning
one.
champ.
But favorite son, I got a lot of second places.
Mhm.
So, but the other day, Harlan likes to come in the bedroom in the middle of the night just screaming.
Yeah. I
And
gotta figure that
it's
out.
because she thinks if she cries loud enough, we'll let her in the bed. And she's learned that, nope, I'll just pick you right back up and
There's
put
no
you back
way
in the
she's
bed.
that conniving because I think she's still half asleep.
Oh no, they're smart. They're smart.
I know she's smart.
And they are conniving. They're scheming at an early age. All four of them. I've noticed the pattern. The other day, you came and you said something I thought was brilliant, babe. That you were talking about. You play emotional algebra with these kids.
Mhm.
And do you want to explain that? I think that's something that parents need to understand. So, but when you explain it, break it down instead of saying X and Y. Actually, insert the actual equation that you use when you're playing that with them.
So I think parents so much are just reactive. Well, people in general, just very reactive to situations in life and to stressful situations. They just get reactive and just immediately like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to say this. But if you compartmentalize what's actually happening and just looking at the person, looking at the emotion that they are giving off, like, and looking at the big picture, and if you're wanting to get desired outcomes. So for instance, Harlan screaming, crying in the middle of the night. Okay. For me, like I see her, I think her belly hurts. I think it's pain. So say pain
I think she'd be bullshitting.
plus X equals what's our desired outcome? Our desired outcome is quiet. Her being totally in homeostasis of comfort, sleep, being amazing. Okay. But you're like, be quiet, Harlan. I'm like, okay, well, pain plus yelling doesn't get us to homeostasis. Okay. Yelling, that's not going to make the pain go away. You got to look at what the actual problem is and counteract it. Like what's going to solve that? Soothing and like maybe a Pepto. You know what I mean? So in terms of kids overall, like at the end of the day, an upset kid, like for me, as a mom, I break it down to they're scared of something, they're hungry, or they're in pain, or they're tired. Did I ever say that?
No.
Okay, that's four things. At the end of the day, if you have a kid that's acting out in any way, it's one of those four things. That's it. That's it. And so you go through, you cross it out, and like you just attack the problem. But is the surface symptoms going to necessarily indicate that? No. They might be yelling at you. They might be arguing. They might just be not listening. But at the end of the day, it's those four things. And if you counteract those four things, you solve the problem. Instead of just being so reactive and letting your emotions get the best, you just look at it for what it really is. And then it just makes everything so easy to solve as a parent. I always think that too. Like when I was super involved in school and I would always do lunch duty. Oh my gosh, from first grade to fifth grade, same thing. It was always one of those four things. If somebody's being like a punk to another kid or whatever, and I'm like, oh, he's still hungry or he's feeling a little unloved at home or something. You know what I mean? Like there's the surface, what you see on the surface, 9 times out of 10 isn't what's going on with them on the inside.
Well, this is why you're a good manager of business too. You do that with adults, including me.
Yeah. You're hungry a lot of times.
And I'm always hungry. I'm hungry now. That's what I was just thinking about. What I'm going to eat after this podcast. So, but I think that's brilliant because you've broken it down into an emotional equation of, what the kid needs, what I can insert to fill that kid's needs so that I get the outcome that I desire. I think that's brilliant.
Well, and I feel like in terms of parents and in terms of just people in general, we take things so personally so many times. And if you just take yourself out of the equation, like look at what's happening. Okay. And what do we want to have happen? Okay. If I want to get here, what do I got to do? It just makes things so much more easy and automatic and less stressful. Like you're way less stressful. And when you don't take things personally.
I love that. I think that could be translated into sales, into management,
Mm-hmm.
hostile customer. What
Mm-hmm.
is their desired outcome? They want to feel like they spent money on something that they're satisfied with. So what is the emotion that you need to insert in there? The
Mm-hmm.
care and the, oh, I'm sorry that that didn't work out the way. How can I help you? Because me, I play like emotional UFC. It's like they're hostile, then I'm hostile too. It's like, I'm not happy about this loan you gave me. Shut the fuck up and pay your bills,
It's
and
UFC versus algebra,
yeah,
college versus no college.
yeah, college versus prison. So, the ages that you were in college, I was in prison, so I learned a little different,
That's not wrong.
a little
Yeah,
different
yeah,
gladiator style.
yeah.
But I could learn a lot from you. I just have to. I got to get better.
We were in different institutions.
I got to get. We were in different institutions. One of us became institutionalized for life. So, but when you said that the other day, I was in the shower. I still remember where I was. I was in the shower, and you came in and you said that, and I was like, that is the smartest thing that you've said this year so far.
Oh, thanks.
And you say a lot of smart stuff, so that's not an easy thing to swing at.
Mhm.
You're very well educated in private school and college, and have all these financial licenses and corporate experience and stuff. A lot of things that I don't have, and when you came in and said that, it's like, that makes sense. I can grasp that. I failed algebra, hence why I failed at emotional algebra. But that makes sense. It's, you turn this thing into an equation where, again, like you said, middle of the night, Harlan comes in yelling, and I'm like, Harlan, go back and get in your bed. I'm trying to say I got to work in the morning. She doesn't even know what the fuck work is.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, yelling at her isn't going to make her stop crying.
Right.
It's going to make her more upset. It's like upset plus upset equals more upset. And you're like,
Right.
oh.
And emotionally, I'm a matcher. If someone's intense, I'm intense. Someone's laid back, I'm laid back.
Mhm.
And that's my natural disposition. I need to work on that, because the emotional algebra side of that is, someone's intense, you go calm, right?
Exactly.
And because it's usually an opposite for their intensity level, you need to have to match that in a calm level, so that it's the opposite reaction, to where there's some sort of what you called homeostasis, but I'll call a
Yeah.
middle ground.
Do you want to
And-
know like a really fascinating like thing just to take that deeper? And this is another article I read when I was parenting Asher. Because we used to fly all the time on planes, and oh my sweet baby Jesus, a little baby boy.
I remember those days.
But like, I knew he had ADHD the second he turned 6 months and was crawling, and I was like, oh my Lanta, it's speed baby, like all over the place. And when I would fly with him, it was so hard. It was because I lived in Arizona. My dad lived in Florida.
And your boyfriend lived in Texas.
It was
She used to fly with him to me.
It was, the flying was awful. And I noticed the more upset I got, the more upset he got. And I would notice, other moms on planes and whatnot. And I was like, okay, I just need to read on this. And so I started reading a bunch of articles, and I read, again, from Psychology Today and other different mom articles, that kids match your energy. Kids are little sponges. And a lot of times, parents, what happens when you fly? You get stressed. And your kid can sense that, and you're stressed out. They're like, oh my gosh, like this person that's totally in control of my survival and taking care of me and holding me and picking me up. They're stressed out. I'm stressed out. When the adult gets stressed out, that kid gets stressed out. And if you wanted your baby to calm down, you be the one to calm down first, and they mirror you. Oh my gosh, it's 100% fact. And once I started doing that with Asher on our plane rides, so much better. Like once you, and I mean, it's not like a giant, like a magic wand immediately, but when you set the example, you set the tone, they mirror you, and that just reverberates. And so with kids, the senator is a Stonewall. I'm still working on reverberating that one, because but think about him. He's an energy producer.
Down like the power in an electrical store.
but also with him too, he's my big energy producer guy. He's on his own circuit. But with most kids, and really most people, people are fairly weak, and people are fairly impressionable. And so I never underestimate the ability, especially in a tense situation, especially if like you're at the mall call and somebody's an asshole in front of you, giving a hard time to the cashier, instead of just reacting, instead of like they're an asshole, set the tone. Be the one to set the tone. And like I can't tell you, having that mentality gives you so much power and like relieves so much stress, and everything goes in the way that you want it to go. And infusing the algebra piece to that too. So you setting the tone of what you want, but then in terms of really affecting change, looking at the emotion at hand and just understanding too, breaking it down, there's like positive and negative, love and fear, and you just break down every single emotion into those compartments, and like really you can kind of like line them up into their polar opposite. Oh, it's life's a cakewalk, and you can really handle conversations so easily, and you can be so direct with someone and have difficult conversations so much easier.
It's powerful, you know. For me with the kids is I try to be the dad that they don't want to disappoint. I do a pretty decent job of it. I can always get better at everything that I'm doing, but I try to lead the kids by example. They see me pick up trash, they pick up trash. They see me push my chair in. When I tell them to push their chair in, they're like, "Well, Dad pushes his in, so it's no wonder he's getting on us." You know.
Hmm.
The other day we're at the ranch. Me and Jackson were doing something, and this is about 2 3 weeks ago. Me and Jackson were doing something. We were working on something, and I took Harlan with me and Jackson, and I left Grayson and Colton and Asher at the barn. And I said, while we got all the four wheelers out of here, Grayson, you and Grayson's not our kid, by the way. He's our bonus kid. He's our two of our best friends' son that happens to be best
Hmm.
friends with our son, so he's around all the time. And I said, Grayson, you and Asher sweep and clean up the barns, and when I and clean up the front barn and the back barn, and we'll be back in about 45 minutes from whatever it is that we were doing, right? And so we showed up about 30 minutes instead of 45 minutes. We showed up about 30 minutes, and they're back there riding their four wheelers and stuff. And I thought, these little bastards didn't even finish doing the job that I told them to do, you know? And I'm like getting ready. I'm getting ready. I feel the fire burning inside of me. I'm going to go, I fucking told you to clean, I'm going to freak out on them. And, and by the way, the Grehees know that I'm that way. They're like, hey, he puts our kid to work and he high discipline. That's Ryan, right? So it's like, it's not anything out of the box there. And I asked Asher calmly, hey man, did you guys clean the barn? Go look. Because last time they cleaned the barn, they swept all the barn. They swept like the four wheelers put dirt in and out of the barn, right? So we got four wheelers with mud. Mud drops on the floor. Then when we pull all the four wheelers out, they sweep the barn to get all the mud out of there, right? The dirt at that point. And last time they had all the dirt down at the edge of the barn, and they just kind of swept it to the edge and left it. Well, this time there was no dirt down there, so I assumed that they didn't sweep the dirt. But last time I got on to them about don't leave the dirt here, put it in the damn shovel, and then go take the shovel and throw it over the fence with the dirt. I don't think they remembered that. So I look, and the barn is like, it's immaculate. What'd you guys do with the dirt? Oh, you told us to throw it over the barn. You told us to throw it over the fence.
Simple.
Oh, you remembered. Okay. Then I said, would you guys clean the back barn? Yeah, go look. We did that too. We didn't move the tractor because I don't have the keys to it. You have the keys to it, but yeah, we
They
cleaned
got
it
it
up
done.
too. I'm like, huh. All right. They're like really learning something. But it's because they don't want to disappoint me. They're like, Dad does all this stuff for us. Dad lets us have so much fun. Dad is always taking us on vacation, and he's always, he works really hard and he makes the time for us, and this is how Dad would clean the barn. He cares about it, so we should care about it too. We that same day, and this happens every time, but that same day we pull up to the dumpster, and I'm going to throw some boxes that I brought in from the house to throw in the actual dumpster on the ranch. And Jackson and Asher opened the glove boxes on their four wheelers and pulled trash out that they'd picked up by riding around the ranch. So it's but that would never happen, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I'm telling you all this is like that would never happen if I wasn't leading by example. Here's why we pick up trash, because if the cows eat the trash, then the cows are going to have plastic in their stomach. Cows have 9 stomachs. They only eat grass. They can't dissolve trash or plastic, and it could cause the cows to have heartburn and possibly even die. So we got to make sure that there's no trash ever laying around. They understand that, as opposed to we pick up trash because I said so. When we're in the city, they pick up trash as well. We might go to the grocery store or not the grocery store. I don't go to grocery stores, but the convenience store. They might say, they might get out of the truck. And I think when you were with us a couple weeks ago, they get out of the truck and I was like, hey, go pick up the trash around here. They're not like, why don't we pick up other people's trash? They're like, hey, when we get out and pump gas, we pick up the trash laying around the gas pumps. Why? My explanation to them is this: there's no shortage of people leaving trash everywhere. There's a shortage of people actually picking it up. So when supply and demand aren't met, then we get to be the people that meet the demand of the supply by doing things that most people want. It makes us better than those people, to be honest with you. Look, somebody throwing away trash, look down your nose at them. That's what they deserve. Somebody's throwing trash out their window, right? We're the people that have to clean up after them, whether it's ours or not. And that's just kind of stuck with them, and 9 times out of 10, they push their chairs up at the table. But again, that's because it's not that I like picking up trash. The shit's dirty. It's not that I like pushing my chair up. It's that if I can create men and a little girl that think with that mindset, then they'll go through life thinking not that we're better than everybody else, but that we handle and carry ourselves better than most people because we care and do what's right while most people don't give a shit and do what's wrong. And putting that mindset into them, programming them at 2 years old, 6 years old, 11 years old, and 12 years old, since they were born, programming that into them. Most parents, if they get out and they said, hey, hey, son, pick up the trash. I don't want to pick up the trash. That stuff's dirty. They don't care. And it's not about whether things are dirty, because obviously they're dirty as hell on the ranch all the time. But, we're having lunch at this convenience store in Ardmore the other day, because that's how you roll in the country. You just be eating lunch at convenience stores. And this lady's sitting here and she's just talking to us. She's a network marketer lady that also owns the convenience store slash restaurant slash beer store. And she's just talking to us, and she's talking to the kids, and the kids are telling her stories, and they're just like little adults. But it's because I've never told them, hey, be scared of adults. I always say, hey, when you see an adult, shake their hand, give them a fist bump, say what's up to them, call them mister,
Yeah.
address them as sir. And teaching these things, and then you giving them high love, they don't want to disappoint you because they're like, mom feeds us, man. If we let her down, we're going to go hungry. People don't realize it's just those little things that you can do for your kids that produces them to become good adults. I have this process. Like, I rebelled against my parents in every way possible. Ran away from home, quit school, did drugs, sold drugs, went to prison. Everything that you could do to disappoint your parents, I was all about it. And it's because my parents, it's not that they were bad people, it's that they were the do as I say, not as I do type. And they weren't good examples. They weren't bad people. They just weren't good examples. I thought, I don't want to be anything like them, so I'll go do this other stuff. Well, I want my kids to go, I want to grow up and be like dad. I want to grow up and be like mom. So I always think that if I lead by example and I don't lie to them, hey, dad, why don't we do this? Well, rough conversation, but here we go. And just honest with them, then it's like, they'll always trust me. Right. When I found my dad would always say things like, don't drink or do drugs, but then he would drink and do drugs. And I was like, I tell my kids, you can do what you want, right? When you're 18, 21, if you want to drink and do drugs, if that's your thing. But let me tell you, you know what it did for me? It's probably not a good path to go down. And they're like, oftentimes Colton and Jackson will be like, dude, I'm never drinking in my life. I've seen
Well,
in their own little tiny
that.
words, they're like, I seen how it fucks your life up, Dad. I'm definitely not going to do that.
More so than that, Colton was on this rambling moment of like being a good kid and making you proud. And he definitely said, and I'm never going to sell drugs, Dad. And it's like, my God, Senator.
But I've never lied to him about that. I'll never forget.
And I was like, I'm proud, but at the same time, no. And I even told you, I was like, he doesn't need to know what drugs are.
Well, the kids will ask me. I listen to a lot of music from the 90s because that's when I grew up, and that's honestly the best era of music there is anyway. And rappers told stories, musicians actually played instruments and could sing. There was no auto-tune, so that's like a greatest era of music. And a lot of new music came out of that. Bands that music sounds like Pantera and Korn that didn't exist in the past. And they'll ask questions like, hey, who's this guy? And I might be like, oh, that's Pantera. And they'll be like, hey, so do they still play? And I was like, no, 3 of them are dead. What did they die for? 2 drug overdoses and alcoholism. You know, one guy was shot in Pantera, so one guy
Oh,
died was shot. So I'm not gonna lie to him, you know what I mean? And so they'll ask, like Stone Temple Pilots was on a few days ago,
yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, what happened to this guy?" It's like, "Man, drugs took him out," you know. Or Nirvana comes on, "What happened to this guy?" Drugs took him out. He shot himself because he was high on drugs, and so I don't lie to them about that stuff. So there's plenty of instances where they're like, "Man, these guys were really cool," and that shit obviously fucked their life up. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the time when I created in 2017. I created this video. You can watch it at forceofaverage.com, and the force of average is this theory I have on life, basically the algorithm for the planet. And I'm showing you the video at the dining room table, and I'm so proud of this video that we produced and the story and all this stuff, man. And I'm surprised that video hasn't gotten a million views at this point because it really just innately explains how the world works. And Jackson's listening to it and he goes, "Wait, you were in prison?" He must have been 5 or 6 years old. And he's like, "Wait, you went to prison, Dad?" And it was like, "Well, come on, sit down. Let me tell you a story."
You're like,
you
that's
know?
not what I wanted you to get out of this. But here we
Well,
are.
he overheard it because you were watching it, and he was sitting at the table, and he overheard it. We were at
Oh.
Myrtle Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and he's sitting at that table, the little round table that we had that came from
Yeah.
your house,
Yeah.
and you were listening to it, and he could
Oh,
hear it, and
man.
I'll never forget that, you know. And it's like, well, I could have lied to him and been like, "No, I've been an angel my whole life," right? But it's like, "Hey, well, listen, well, watch this movie and it'll make sense because I made a lot of mistakes as a kid. Here's how you can avoid them." The other day, my son Jax, he always wears a hood, and he's starting to talk a little hood, and I'm like, "Listen, that's for me. It's not for you. You didn't grow up there. You can't
Thank
talk
you
like
for
that.
telling him that.
You didn't grow up there. I know you want to be like Dad, but there's certain parts about Dad that you didn't have the experiences
He's
I
like,
had.
I
So,
ain't got no bottle. I'm like, you don't have any.
well, and and I get it. That's grammatically correct and everything else, but don't walk around like
Ye-
your
well,
son. You're 12 years old. You've never
that's
been in a
not what
fight. Don't
makes
walk
you
around like you're
cool.
a tough
Be
guy.
cool by the person that you are. Speak well, speak politely, be like, make friends and be cool by you.
Yeah,
Not
agreed.
by like some image you want to portray, which comes with the times. It's a part of being preteens. I love it. It's adorable. We're going to mold it in the direction we want it to go. Oh, but it's like,
Well, I had a talk with him the other day. It's like,
oh,
you walk around here and you kind of, around your friends, you act like this tough guy or whatever, but, you never been in a fight. By the time I was like he's in the sixth grade, it's like by the time I was in the sixth grade, I've probably been in 20 fights. I got to fight 3 days into kindergarten. I got in a fist fight. Yeah, dude. Like,
no.
I grew up in a different neighborhood in a different era in the country and in the city. It was a different time. And I'm like, you live this like, this protected life. That's not for you. And I
Yeah.
get that you want to be like Dad. And I'm not a tough guy by any stretch of the imagination, but like my childhood was drastically different than yours. If you get in a fight at school, then you're going to public school where you might actually have to fight, like
Have you heard what he does with his voice too? It's like, yeah, oh. Like it's like
I
totally.
think because it's gonna crack.
I
And
know,
so he's
I
trying
know,
to-
I
yeah,
know, and I'm just like, it's so cute. I'm just like, you're old.
yeah.
It's yeah.
He used to be
It's
quite the
so
talker,
funny.
and now he's quieter.
I know, and when he does, he's like, oh yeah. It's so I'm like, oh my gosh. And then with Asher, he is still I feel like he talks more than Jax does now.
I do too. And now that you say that, I
So
do too.
funny.
You
Asher's voice is getting lower too.
It is. He's getting tall.
Crazy.
He's gonna be wearing my shoes before long.
He tries.
He wears my boots at the ranch. He wears my boots.
I know. He's going, man.
I'm
I
like,
think
hey, you
he's-
want those that fit you? It's like, no, I like these better. They're more comfortable. Okay, all right. You're only a size or two away from them, so it is what it is.
I think he's about a size below you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What size shoes he wearing right now?
Right now, I think he's in an 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, so he ain't far behind
Yeah.
me. I'm 9.5.
I know.
I
Oh
got
my
little feet.
gosh, we got little big heads. Oh, and yeah. I think the best part about what you were saying about be showing the kids by your image of being the example and then wanting them to also be the example. But I think the best part about teaching them that is that we teach it in a way where it's, you don't want to be the example in a way of like being the best so that you can like be egotistical and judgmental to other people about it. You be the example so that you can affect change and other people can be like that too. I think there's a big difference in that, and especially in their little minds and just understanding of like why you do something. Because when you're little, you're competitive. You know what I mean? You're like elbowing the person next to you to be front of the lunch line and whatever. So like getting them to have that like wider, like broader thinking, I think is super impactful for them in their development.
Yeah, I would have also figured Jackson would have got last place for the report cards too, but he actually got first place. So it's
He's
funny.
competitive. He's
It's funny
competitive. He
how
wants to get,
kids
yeah.
change over time. Jax used to be this just like, dude, can you just shut up? You talk entirely too much. And now he's quieter. Maybe he's actually finally taking direction. I don't know. But now he's quieter. He's doing a lot better in school, and the other two, I'm always struggling with them in school because Jackson cares about school. The other two, they care about their friends. They're there for their
Yeah.
friends and hanging out with their
Yeah.
buddies and stuff. And so we've put our kids in private school. They've been in private school their whole entire lives. And I think a lot of parents don't, first of all, not everybody can afford that. But I look at it this way. And now that there's four of them, I can't afford it either. I just got to work three jobs, or what do I have, 60 jobs at this point to be able to, like my mom would have been like, I have to work three jobs to pay for your school. It's like, hold my beer. That ain't shit. I'm having to work 100 to be able to pay for these kids. But the thing is, we were putting them in daycare because we both worked, and daycare was roughly $1,000 a month per kid. And a lot of people, what happens is when they turn 5 and they can go to kindergarten, they're like, oh, now I saved $1,000 or $2,000 a month in daycare fees. And we were like, how about we just go find a school that's 12 or 15 grand a year, and
Mhm.
just, we're already used to paying that bill. And,
I was going to put him in a private school regardless. That
I
was
wanted
always
them to
my
go to
plan.
school in the hood. We lived in Dallas, and I was like, let's just put them in the roughest school and the roughest environment so they grow up tough like a boy named Sue, and Amy talked me out of that. And I'm glad you did. At first, I fought you on that, like all the way up till they started kindergarten. And then, but we put them in private school, and it was like, okay, we were already paying 2 grand a month for Asher and Jackson. And then they graduated Primrose. We moved Asher over, and Jackson put him into kindergarten there. First of all, because Jackson spends half the time with his mom,
Mhm.
so we wanted him to be in the same school as his brother.
Yes.
That was a big deal to us, and that was
Yes.
worth the extra effort and the extra money to be able to do that. Then Colton comes along. We're like, well, shit, we're gonna have to put him in school too. And then Harlan comes along. We're like, well, there's four. The next thing you know, you're like, now we went from 15 grand a year to about 70 grand a year in private school because of the amount of kids that we have.
Mhm.
But even getting around those other private school kids, our kids carry themselves different.
Mhm.
They do. We see some of these kids, and they're big brats. They're spoiled. You can tell their dads never leaned on them,
Mhm.
and like there was a really nice guy the other day at Asher or at, Colton's baseball practice, really nice guy. And he's, from Kansas. They just moved their kids over to the school.
Mhm.
Super nice dude, but he was telling me, he's like, man, I've never rode a four-wheeler, never hunt, never fish, never done any of this. Like, you have a son. How
Yeah.
do you not do those things with him? Like, that's the whole point. That was the whole point of having a son. It's like, give him to me. Give me a week. He said that too. He's like, they should, if things go wrong, I'm coming your way. Yeah, I was like, I got you, man. Let me take you out there
But
and
most
give you
people
that
don't do that
experience.
anymore. Most people are gravitating more towards cities, and you just don't do that.
Yeah, and cities are good, but they create dependence. They create they
Exactly.
create dependence on a
Yes.
grocery store. They create dependence on
Mhm.
a land. Like, that guy lives in a very nice home just like us, so he's probably got a landscaper like we do. We
Mhm.
have a nanny, but I tell the nanny all the time, these kids work for you. Make them pick up their stuff. You work
Yeah.
for Yadira. You work for me and Amy. And you still cook dinner, by the way. So, like,
Mhm.
the nanny's different at our place. We like to come home to like a hotel. And when you leave during the day, they come in, they make the bed and all that kind of stuff. That's what
Mhm.
matters. So,
Mhm.
but I tell her all the time, it's like, make them, don't pick up after them. You're here to work for me. That means I want my floors clean, I want my windows clean, I want my beds made. You're here to make my life better, not theirs, and you're here to watch them when I'm not around, right?
Put
But
those turkeys to work.
make them pick up their own stuff. Call them in here, Asher, come pick this up. Call them in here, like put them to work, you know? We have a different dynamic when people think nanny, because kids have had nanny their whole life.
Yeah.
And y-
She's full-time, but not at the house full-time.
right. And
Yeah.
yeah, she doesn't live with us, but she's there 50
Yeah.
hours a week or whatever it is.
I'm mom hard.
And but Amy cooks dinner every night, right?
Yeah.
And so during the summer, you do your
And I still do laundry and I still do all this stuff. It's a bit, yeah, because our house is it's 6 people in our house. So it's a big
it's
job
and a
to
dog,
maintain everybody
6
and a
people
dog.
and an ace, you know. And Amy is the landscaper. She's always gardening in the backyard and planting
I don't have
things.
to anymore. I've got it all up and regrowing every year so that my botanical garden is self-sustaining at this point. I just got to pretty it up over here and there a little bit.
But I say that so that the people know that we're not like, oh, we have a nanny and she takes
Yeah.
care. It's like, no.
We still very much
nanny,
take care of every
the
element
nanny's
of
there
our
to
house.
clean the house, because it's a disaster when we leave from work in the morning and then we come home, we want the house to be clean, the beds to made, stuff like that. The kids still got to take out the trash, you know, the kids still got to check the mail every night. When I come home, you guys go get the mail, take the trash out, like every night. That's their job. Amazon people come to the door, hey, go get that. Don't Nope, we're not going to get that. You go get that. You know, then you still cook for everybody. So it's not like the nanny's cooking food or whatever. It's actually a pretty cush job for her. And all things considered, compared to what maybe somebody else would want them to do. Because we also don't want the kids to think, oh, well, this lady does everything for mom and dad and they're lazy, you know, or mom and dad, they're above these
You
things.
still want to be hands-on.
Yeah, we still hands on. You know, the kids seeing you go water the plants and move bushes around and plant the different flowers that you do.
There's so much of a shift in terms of people and the way they grow into adulthood. Like there is so much laziness and so much stuff that people don't do. Like when you grow up, like nowadays, most people don't. They are not financially literate. They don't know like how to save. They don't know like LLCs and trusts and stuff. You don't know that unless you're taught, right? Versus like before, like it was so much more of an hands-on parenting by parents, and now so much is just hands off and the kids go to school. And like with the house, some people just don't take care of their houses anymore. Some people don't know how to take care of their house in terms of like bushes and trees.
We live
Like,
next door to those fuckers.
I know. But I think
Fucking
that's such an
liberals.
important piece of life, like to understand and to like really appreciate things. Like driving into school, I was like, you guys, like, do you understand? Like, this is mommy's favorite season. Like, look, these leaves weren't here like 3 weeks ago. Look how beautiful it is. And the color is so much of a lighter green. It's going to turn darker green as it turns into summer. Like, when people appreciate little details about these aspects of their life, they have such a more like whole holistic vantage point on the world. You know what I mean? You're more detail oriented and you notice things. And I still get on my soapbox about like so much of life's lessons are in gardening. Like the way you
Natural
prune a
things
rose
teach
bush
a
and
lot.
understanding like the elements of it. It's like truly it like pruning a rose bush and the branches that grow and the branches that don't mirror modern day societal families. It totally does. And what thrives and what doesn't, and like what you got to do. Sometimes you got to cut off the dead in order for it to grow. You know what I mean? There's so many life lessons in gardening, and I'll write a book on it one day, but I think it's important to teach the
I
kids
agree.
that.
I feel the same way about ranching. Yeah, I really do. You know, the way that we work the land out there and the things that we do and how we can't conduct ourselves, there's a lot of lessons out there to be learned as well. Just like, why do we throw the dirt over the fence, right? So that it can go back to where it came from, right? That's it. Go put the dirt in its natural habitat, you know? Why don't we let the dirt pile up? Because then you got mud everywhere and it's dirty. And as soon as it gets wet, it's going to be muddy and then it's going to ruin everything that's sitting in here. So, it, just gets in the way. And why do we pick trash up? So that it doesn't kill the cows and so it doesn't harm the environment.
Full circle, like having that understanding of there's such a domino effect of every little move that you make every day.
So we were fishing weekend before last. I was fishing. The kids they love to throw shit in the water while I'm trying to fucking fish, which creates a damn difficult fishing situation, but I am a very good fisher, so I still catch them. And I fished for maybe an hour, caught two or three bass and a crappie. And every time we would catch one, we have a new lake, and so I would go put the older fish in the new lake, and we just stocked it with babies, but it still needs some older fish in it as well. And the kids were asking, they're like, "Why are you taking them out of Beaver Lake and putting them in Harlan Lake?" Right? We have names for all of our lakes, and I said, "Well, there's no big fish in Harlan Lake because it's a brand new lake, so we need a couple big fish over there to cut down on all the minnows that we put in there because we put thousands of minnows in there for bait or for not bait, but for food for the fish as they grow up." And I said, if not, it'll get overrun with those. So we need to put a few big fish in here so that they can cut down on them because bass have a good appetite.
Mhm.
So then the kids are like, as soon as I catch one, they're going unhooking it, running it over to the other one. It's
Oh.
like, we're just in these little things. When I was a kid, they didn't really make a lot of sense to me either. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, these were life lessons on how things work in the world.
Mhm.
In a lot of the sayings that I grew up just saying because I was from the country as I got older, I was like, oh, that's actually a metaphor for life, not just, some shit that you just say. And
Mhm.
so, but ultimately, to bring the show to an end about our parenting stuff is we're really doing our part to raise city kids with country values.
Mhm.
New school kids with old school values, and city kids with country work ethic, and new school kids with old school values. And it's not easy,
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's
and
really hard.
it is a high demand on us as parents to be the examples and to teach them this stuff, not do it for them, to make sure that the nanny puts them to work and doesn't work for them, things like that. But these little shifts that we have make all the difference in the world, and I think Yadira appreciates that too, that like, hey, the guy that pays me, he's not above taking the trash out.
Right.
The woman that I work for, she cooks dinner every night. I don't have to
Mhm.
do that. And I think it's good for her too, to where she doesn't feel like, I'm there. She's paid, so she's not a slave, but I'm like their servant or whatever. It's like really a part of the family. And when we go on vacations, we take her with her with us too, so that the kids can stay with her and watch her. And if Harlan needs a nap or whatever, but the kids are very respectful of her. I don't think she's ever had to tell me that they're probably more respectful of her than they are of us, now that I think about it.
Nope, she's had to come to me and tell me that Colton.
Yeah, Nicole. I could have guessed which one it was. If there was one that caused problems, I could have guessed which one it
That
was.
mouthed
So,
off to an adult 4 times his size,
yeah.
just with some.
But I remember years ago, Jackson goes, "Why don't you make Jessica do it when she worked for us?" And I was like, "You work for her. She does not work for you."
Yeah, that's not an excuse to be lazy.
Yeah.
We have those people so that we are able to do more,
Yeah.
not do less.
Yeah, they're here for me and mom, not
Yeah.
you. They're here for me and mom. She tells you to jump, you say how high, just like it's mom. I'll say this to end, and I had a talk with Colton a couple days ago. He said something to you that was smart ass.
Mhm.
It might have been last night, actually. And I said, well, you got to respect your mom as a mentor. And he said, what's a mentor? I said, like a teacher, but somebody you like as a teacher. And because I know he don't like school. And and so
A teacher you like.
I needed to make sure there was a difference in that explanation. And I said, your mom can teach you so much that you can learn in life. And he goes, but you yell at her. And I was like, but like, she's my equal. She's not your equal. She's your mentor. She's my mentor too. I yell at her because I'm mad she's smarter than I am. And I could just see this light bulb go off. It's like, oh, wait, I can learn from mom. I thought mom just cooked dinner and made me do homework. It's like, I can learn. It's like, listen, mom went to private school and she has a college degree. Two things that I didn't do. She's way smarter than I am. If she's telling you something, you should listen to her because she's very well educated and knows what she's talking about. And I think a light bulb went off in his mind because they hear me say, I didn't go to school and fucking I hate school, and me complain about the price of private school and stuff. So I'm sure a lot of that gets locked into their brains as well. But having that conversation with him last night, well, I'm interested to see if there's a little shift in the senator, in his ways. Because
There was. The interesting thing with him now is, and he's such a little you in the best way. He tests his
worst.
limits. And I can see him testing the limits of, us getting to school on time. And he knows, like, you need to have your butt in the seatbelt on, 7:35, no later. And so I'm asking him, it's 7:36 in our bathroom, and I'm like trying to get him to go because he wouldn't get his clothes on. I can see him. He's purposely not because he's looking at the time. He's like, well, I wonder if. He's testing things. I wonder if what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're just going to gently. So I can see him, but then it's funny on the way to school. He's like, Mom, I'm really sorry. I was like, for what are you sorry for, honey? He's just being really disrespectful and the time and get. I was like, well, honey, you were just trying to see what would happen maybe if you weren't there at that time, right? And he's like, yeah. So it's like, it's funny. He's testing things. What's going to happen if?
Well, they are he is very disciplined in the fact that the other day, I forget where we were going, but he goes, "Can you do my hair real quick? I don't want
Mhm.
to leave the house without my hair done."
Mhm.
I'm like, you know what? I appreciate little things like that,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I see some people's kids,
Mm-mm.
they just look like they just threw them together. It's like,
'Cause
man,
they
you didn't
did.
comb his hair. You got like, I see the kids in front, like, because I drive through the school zone in the morning, and they're in their pajamas and they've got their shower caps on and do rags on, and I'm not talking about a specific ethnicity. I'm talking about all of them. And it's like, man, you just let your kids, they represent you. You didn't think to like comb their hair and and like tell them, hey, maybe don't wear flip flops to school, and
Yeah.
it's 20 degrees outside and they're in shorts. Like, who the hell's like taking care of your
Mm.
kids here, and
Mhm.
or get a haircut. It's like, we teach them these things, and it's like we don't have to tell them to take a shower every night. They know. We don't have to tell them to take a brush their teeth. They know. They want to be clean. They want to be well groomed. They want to be presentable because they see that's how we are. I don't ever leave the house without my hair done or a hat on. You don't leave the house without your makeup done and your hair combed.
Mhm.
We were in Cabo and you're like, I gotta get a brush.
I need a hairbrush.
Yeah. So, all right, final thoughts. Ending statement, closing statement.
Ending statement, closing statement. I don't know.
Train your
I
kids.
think we did
Train your kids.
a solid chat here, honey.
I really, I'm sure the people watching are grateful for your emotional algebra. I think that is a beautiful, well thought out, smart, college
Thank
educated,
you.
private school type of mom talk. And I'm grateful for it. Not sure that I can do it because I failed algebra, but I appreciate the sentiment there.
I'll help you.
All right, catch us next week. We're here. Pound the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below. We do check comments and all that good stuff. So,
Mhm.
maybe we'll say something back. I don't know. No promises, but share this with somebody who knows a parent. They need this stuff.